So this is going to be one of the hardest videos we have ever done on this channel, but we're tying into what we've done before, and we are going to try and predict the WWE Elimination Chamber 2025 card before it makes sense. Now, the reason it's so hard is because I don't know. Shrug emoji, right? When I sat down to do this, I was like, oh my gosh, it depends on Saturday night's main event, it depends on the Royal Rumble, and you just know so many things are going to be in flux. The Elimination Chamber is ages away. We've got like 6 weeks, maybe more, until we do get there, and it all depends on what's happening at WrestleMania, which is why a lot of this you're going to look back on in a few weeks and go, Simon Millie, don't know what you're talking about, but at least it will be fun, okay? Let's start with the men's Elimination Chamber. Now, I am going with the idea, this is why it's hard to predict when you have to go through the Royal Rumble, the CM Punk is winning the Rumble. I said that in a video the other day. I'm going to stand by it. Obviously, something's going to happen on television, and I'm going to be like, man, I'm wrong. But listen, man, half the fun of being a wrestling fan is just coming up with ideas, like I say, throwing yourself into it and going it from there. So I have a list up there. I'm going with John Cena, who I do believe will be in the final two, along with CM Punk. Seth Rollins probably going to get involved as well, but again, I'm going with my gut here. So John Cena is going to be in it, and then I think there's just a bunch of people you have to put in there, otherwise you're doing yourself a disservice. So Drew McIntyre, he's got to be in it. That's up to 2. Seth Rollins has to be in it. You know, it has to be at the top of the card, otherwise you're not using him right. Randy Orton popped into my brain. I was like, I don't think Randy Orton's going to have a mega match at WrestleMania at the moment, so he has to be in the main events going up before it. Kevin Owens, because again, I think Kevin Owens and Randy Orton now will have their match at WrestleMania. I did have Sami Zayn in the final spot. I moved him out and I put Jey Uso in, just because Jey Uso has been talking about the world title recently, and he's so over. And I just think that WWE is so into him that the plan throughout 2025, because I don't think he's going to win the world championship, then maybe in 2026 for sure, and I'd be fine with that. But yeah, I think the plan for this year would just be keep him in that main event scene, keep him knocking on the door, and then hopefully when the time is right and the opportunity presents itself, we'll be able to do something. Now, I think John Cena will win the Elimination Chamber, because I do believe that we are going to be doing John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41. Ever since that rumor came out and I've whirled it around in my brain, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. It's such a big major match, and it's John Cena's last WrestleMania match. So while I'd love it if he took on someone like a Gunther, because my gosh, do I love Gunther, it doesn't have the same gravitas as him versus Cody Rhodes, because of the fact it's the two faces of the company, it's the two baby faces. Very much Cody Rhodes is the new John Cena, if you want to pitch it that way, and Cody has talked about John Cena in such glowing terms that you have that as well. And obviously, if it's John Cena versus Gunther, Gunther can be like, I'm the ring general and I hate you, and John can be like, oh, well, nice speech, kid. We've seen it all before, and it's brilliant, and I love it. It's why one of the reasons John Cena is the GOAT. But Cody Rhodes and John Cena, like, well, what do they say to each other? How nice are they going to be? When does the niceness float away, and all of a sudden they get those jabs in there? Because you just know that John Cena's going to have something to say about AEW, and it will be tremendous. So that is what I would do. I also think, again, if Kevin Owens and Randy Orton in there, you can do things in order to say, okay, we're going to do that at WrestleMania. And it is a big match. It's just not a typically top match compared to everything else we've got going on. I'm starting to think it could be Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins, given the path that they seem to be on. But they just should get in there, because again, they're so important to what WWE is going to be doing into WrestleMania and coming out of WrestleMania. And of course, they did fight at WrestleMania 41. So maybe you could do this weird back-to-back thing where we tell different stories. I do not know. I find that one very, very confusing, but I love it in a good way. Confusion doesn't have to be a bad thing. But there are people missing out. Again, I mentioned Sami Zayn. You could even sort of maybe squeeze a Jacob for 2 if you're there, if you wanted. But for me, I would just make sure Jacob for 2 wins a bunch of mid-card titles in 2025 and then push him to the moon in 2026. But somebody came in now with a gun to my head and said, you know, you have to stake your life on this. I'd be like, what crazy universe have I entered? Or some stupid Netflix show? And can I leave? But I would not be confident at all. Like, I rewrote this about 100 times because I am a big nerd, but I'm going Drew, Cena, Seth, Jey, Orton, Kevin, and I think Cena will win because it's just the funnest thing that WWE can do. And John Cena is going out, which I think he will do. I think he's I think he's just assured of himself that he's not going to come back. It's not going to be one of these weird fake wrestling retirements. Who's better than Cody Rhodes, man? Even like a Roman Reigns, we've done it. A CM Punk would be good, but I think you can get away with that. We're doing that on another show. WrestleMania with the WWE title on the line and the story of the 17th, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about what I'd like to happen in a different video. There you go. I've made up my mind. I don't think any of this is going to happen. And let's not forget that at the last Elimination Chamber, AJ Styles flew halfway around the world to screw LA Knight. So you may be able to sort of have Randy Orton come back there and not be in the match, but he goes after Kevin Owens, so maybe you do have a Sami Zayn there as well. Although, of course, it's in Toronto, Canada, so nobody has to fly, can just drive upwards. Which brings us to the women's. Now, this is once again is based on the idea that Charlotte Flair has returned and won the Royal Rumble, because I do think we're going to be doing Tiffany Stratton versus her at WrestleMania. If that's the case, you kind of have to have Charlotte as a heel, because Tiffany has some proper love from the crowd. And therefore, I think Becky Lynch is going to be back for the Elimination Chamber. She should go in here. Don't think she's going to win, but it makes it a star-fueled Elimination Chamber. And that's what WWE is all about. Io Sky thinks she's going to have a great Royal Rumble, so she'll be like, oh, I was so close, I won another shot. Nia Jax, because WWE just loves putting Nia Jax in these things, as they should do. She's brilliant at being Nia Jax. I've got Bianca Belair, I've got Naomi, and I think Liv Morgan should be in this too. Again, not to win, but just like a Jey Uso situation. Let's keep her at the top of the card. Let's not have her fall away just because she's not the champion anymore. The reason I've got Naomi and Bianca in there, I understand these are the people that will be going for the Raw Women's Championship if I've told that Charlotte's going for the Women's. One, when we get to the Elimination Chamber, maybe Charlotte hasn't declared. WWE does enjoy doing that sometimes, although I don't think the new regime would do it as much. The point is, if it does turn out that Naomi is the one that attacked Jade Cargill could be in Bianca Belair's position too, but I'm going with that idea as well, which I'm now not sure of anymore. I was really sure of it at one point. But if you do have a heel Naomi, you can't do the triple threat match, but you could do a tag match. But I don't know. But the point is, I think that you could have something there. And it all depends whether Jade Cargill comes back at the Royal Rumble or not. That would be pretty good. I would enjoy it. But then should she win the Royal Rumble? I don't know. Either way, I've gone with those two because I think they're on a crash course to WrestleMania in some guys with a Jade Cargill and maybe as somebody else. And again, at some point throughout 2025, Bianca Belair has to be pushed to the back of that singles division. And she should probably be the champion because she's too good and she's too good at being a babyface. Now, Becky Lynch, you could do Becky Lynch versus Nia at WrestleMania. We've never really blown that off properly ever since Nia whacked her right in the face, although we kind of have. Point is this, I think Io Sky will win it again. I think she's going to come super close in the Royal Rumble. It could even come down to her and Charlotte Flair as the final two, which gives this a little bit more impetus, a little bit more gravitas. But I'm trying to look forward to WrestleMania. I just think we want to see Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. I think the build would be awesome. I think they can come at it from two very specific angles. They are kind of both baby faces, but the height differential is going to make it just intriguing, and also their matches are going to be absolutely brilliant. At the same time, if you want Bianca Belair to win this and do Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley, I'm not going to get annoyed. And I think that's why I like that lineup. I think it has some jeopardy to it. And if the Elimination Chamber has jeopardy, you're going to be more invested and more involved and want to see where it is going to go. But you may be saying to yourself, well, where's Bayley? Where's Candice LeRae? You may roll your eyes at Candice LeRae, but she has been involved with the Tiffany Stratton stuff. So maybe she would be like, well, I'm going to try and get in there because I want to get revenge for you, Nia Jax, which is when I throw my first curveball in there. You are going to have some title matches on this Elimination Chamber show. And if we go on the ones that we've done in the past, not the one when Rhea Ripley was in Australia, obviously, because that was different. That had a certain hometown meaning to it. But a lot of the times you get title matches that are kind of just there. I don't mean that as an insult. They can still be good matches. But if that is going to be the story and Candice LeRae wants to get revenge for Nia Jax, even though we do have the Royal Rumble first, you could do it at the Royal Rumble. And maybe I'm sort of elongating it a little bit. I think eventually we will do Candice LeRae versus Tiffany Stratton because once again, she's been directly in the story. It means that Tiffany Stratton can get, not an easy title defense, but no one's going to believe that Candice LeRae is going to win. It's the opposite of jeopardy, but at least it makes sense from a story point of view. So again, the Royal Rumble has so many bits and bobs to it. The Elimination Chamber does too because the gimmick matches. One of the two, but I'm trying to predict the damn Elimination Chamber here. So I've gone with Candice versus Tiffany. And the reason I didn't put Bayley in there is because on that Raw, Bayley was looking at that Raw Women's Championship, courtesy of Rhea Ripley, like it was the damn One Ring from Lord of the Rings. So we have 3 shows to do it in. Are we going to pull it from nowhere and do it at Saturday Night's Main Event? We certainly could. Don't think Bayley is fighting Nia Jax there. Maybe she is. I don't know. You could do it at the Royal Rumble, but again, I prefer Bayley to be in the Royal Rumble because when she is in there, you always go, oh, is she going to win? Is she not going to win? Even though she won it last year. So I would hold that off to the Elimination Chamber because, again, Bayley's not going to win the Royal Rumble. She's not going to win the Elimination Chamber. So let's put her in a championship match with Rhea Ripley, mostly because that's a good match. And once more, it doesn't really have the drama to it because I don't think anyone thinks Bayley's going to win that title before WrestleMania. But I'm repeating myself, at least it keeps Bayley at the top of the card and puts her in a position where it does feel like, oh my gosh, you're an important person, as opposed to just being a cog in the wheel, which she may be in the Elimination Chamber or the Royal Rumble. Now, in both of those, I think the champions will retain, of course, but we'll get into this more when I have more information. And the men's ones, I just saw it now. Do you know what my Cody Rhodes match is? Cody Rhodes versus ? I don't know what you would do. I really, really don't. But I did kind of contemplate that there's been plenty of pay-per-views, PLEs, throughout 2024 where Cody didn't have a title match or, the other championship wasn't defended. And given what I do have, that's my Gunther one, which is totally obscene. Maybe WWE would be like, we don't need to overcook the pudding here. Now, I have gone into this in more detail on What Culture Wrestling. I don't think it's up yet, but make sure you subscribe to them and subscribe to me. And I will sit down and do it here as well. But I have the feeling that Roman Reigns may go into WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion, only because I think it is going to be CM Punk versus versus Roman Reigns. Now, you can switch reverse this, and you could have CM Punk somehow be in this position to win the title, and then it's Roman Reigns who wants to go after the belt. But I just think if you're finally putting CM Punk in that WrestleMania main event position, which is the story, it's something he's wanted for a long time, or one of the reasons he came back to the company, it kind of feels to me that he should win the championship on that night. Now, on this January 27th Raw coming from Atlanta, we know that Goldberg is going to be there, and we already seen Gunther on Raw be like, oh man, I'm the best of the world, head of the table. These are a bunch of stupid catchphrases. And you've already had Paul Heyman. I'm going so nerdy here, I understand this, but you've had Paul Heyman talk about the fact that Roman Reigns wants to come and get the WWE title back. So if you take all of that and you put it in this tribal chief ceremony, and you have Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman going, oh my gosh, I got the Ula Fala back, and I want to have the title, and then Gunther comes out like, bro, you're on my show, man. I'm the Raw champion, you should be talking about me. And then Goldberg can be there, and then he can turn up the Elimination Chamber, and it can all just be shenanigans. Now, there's two massive caveats to this, but I do think you can still make it work. I also believe that Solo Sikoa will be a part of that acknowledgement ceremony, and that's when Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu are going to whip his ass, because he will acknowledge Roman Reigns, as he's always said he's going to do. So we may be over shenanigan in this. Can't say that word, which would be difficult. And also, I understand this, I chatted about this with a friend, and they were like, there is no way that Goldberg is going to cost Gunther his world title for Roman Reigns. I was like, I'm sorry, Roman Reigns has been involved but nothing but shenanigan matches for years. Every single championship he won was because this guy ran in and that guy ran in. Even when he won his last match, that was a big deal. What was it? Oh, the Tribal Combat match on Netflix, because Kevin Owens, and there was Cody Rhodes, and there was the Bloodline 2.0. Nobody could say that Roman Reigns won that clean. So I don't think he minds any of that stuff, or it doesn't come across that way. I think he likes the cinema and the aura of the whole stuff. So why couldn't we live in a world where it is Roman versus Gunther, and the way that Roman wins is because Goldberg comes out and spears Gunther, while all the other Bloodline people are getting involved as always. Don't get me wrong, in terms of face-heel dynamics, this is all over the place, but you could do that, and then he walks into WrestleMania to take on CM Punk, so he doesn't need the favour, does he? Because he's won the Royal Rumble. Maybe that's another thing you could do now I've said it out loud. CM Punk could lose the Rumble, and his favour is to Paul Heyman, well, you still got to sneak me into the Elimination Chamber, whatever it may be. And again, the other caveat is people go, well, there's no way Roman Reigns is only going to hold a title from Elimination Chamber to WrestleMania, and then CM Punk wins it. Catchphrase. Why? Why can't we do that? Like, I think that would be a terrible existence to be a part of if that was just off the table, because the last time Roman Reigns held a championship, it was for 1,316 days. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be treating the Roman character like that. Different conversation, because again, he's this huge deal, and you don't want to diminish that, but I think he's way past that anyway. He's like John Cena from 10 years ago. He can do whatever he wants. But I just think it would be interesting for viewers. I think it would show everyone, hey man, doesn't matter what people have done before, you have to keep watching the World Wrestling Federation to figure out what is going to go down. It would be a surprise. It would work on that Saturday. CM Punk would be the champion. You could elongate that feud. They could trade that belt back and forth. I think there's a lot of positives to it, even though at the same time, it's total nonsense. If somebody else pitched this to me, I'd be like, you're a nerd. Get out of my face. But at this stage, when I sat down, I wanted to come up with something interesting, right? Not really boring, like, oh, man. That's what came into my head, and I thought, why the flub not? You could do it, and it all could kick off with that acknowledgement ceremony. Now what will happen is that will happen to the left, and there will be an incident between Gunther and Goldberg, but it will be completely unrelated, and Gunther and Roman Reigns will have no discussion. But on the off chance they do, I can look like some kind of wrestling savant. And also, I just think I would enjoy it. I think it would be fun, and I think it would allow you to not have a Cody Rhodes match. If you're doing Gunther versus Roman Reigns for the World Championship, which nobody had on their radar, well, I've kind of just explained it. I've also got the mid-tier belts, if we want to call them that, I don't know, written down. I kind of think that WWE may stretch out these feuds they've currently got on. I mean, we still need to do a proper match between Meechin and Chelsea Green, because Piper Niven keeps getting involved. This is probably too far away, but you could do that, or just not have it on it at all, because I do think that Tiffany and Candice, I'm reading the wrong bit, I do think that Lyra Valkyria and Dakota Kai will stretch their feud out, and again, they're probably both going to be in the Royal Rumble. WWE likes doing that, and therefore they can have their proper blow-off at the Elimination Chamber. I wouldn't mind that at all. And I've got Bron Breakker versus Sheamus down. I know they're fighting on Saturday Night's main event, but I've come up with this weird idea where if Sheamus is going to finally win this, I think it should be at this year's WrestleMania. And I think before then, it's like a miniature John Cena story. He loses, and then says to Bron, hey man, one last crack, as he would say, fella, at WrestleMania, if I lose, I'll never challenge that IC belt again. Whether it's you, whether it's Kaiser, whether it's anybody, then of course he wins, and we all feel warm and fuzzy in our tum-tums. And I'm not bored of that feud. I mean, maybe I will in another 3 months' time, but I'm speaking it from Simon Miller currently here in January. And this is an absolutely crazy one. But it does feel to me like LA Knight is going to win that championship back soon. So maybe Finn Balor gets involved in the US title picture, because there was that rumor that we're going to do something big with Finn Balor. Now, maybe we hold it off to WrestleMania WrestleMania and allow Finn Balor to win the belt there. But this is another thing. At the moment, we are sort of taking our time with Shinsuke Nakamura versus LA Knight, which is fine. You have to imagine they'll both be in the Royal Rumble. So do we actually do LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura at Elimination Chamber? Probably, actually. And then maybe it's LA Knight versus Finn Balor at WrestleMania. I'm going to change it right now and likely live to regret this, which is way too over the top and an exaggeration to say the least. I think it will be LA Knight versus Shinsuke at the Elimination Chamber. LA Knight will win his belt back and then hopefully goes into a feud with Finn Balor. And I would love for Finn Balor to win. I'm a huge LA Knight fan, but I talked about this the other day. Finn Balor is absolutely brilliant. So that's what I'm going to throw out there. These are the people I throw into the pie. And I know I should never be allowed anywhere near a WWE or wrestling booking pen. But again, I have the grace to have as much fun as I want because words can just come out of my mouth and fall onto the floor. If I was in a writer's room, I'd probably look at it a little bit differently. But the most important thing is for you to tell me what do you think is going to happen at the Elimination Chamber before it makes sense. That's what's clear. So long as you can connect the dots in some sense, to repeat myself, it's totally allowed. Please do click the video on the screen, which is me telling you who will win the Royal Rumble in the sense of who it looks like it's going to be on paper, not who I want to win. Otherwise, please do like the video, share the video, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. It's grillermind.com/Simon for all your fitness supplements needs, and you get money off using the code Simon, all the social medias, all of the pro wrestling tees. Make sure you go to simonmiller.bigcartel.com. If you're in the UK, I have a selection of t-shirts for you because I understand postage and packing is quite difficult now from the States. But again, pro wrestling tees, search for my name there. Otherwise, please do interact with this video as much as you can. I am recording this on a Friday, so have a great weekend. I'll see you soon.